don't know a lot about the life of Napoleon, who was Emperor of France and a dictator who terrorized his neighbors. After watching the masterful director's cut of Ridley Scott's Napoleon, starring Joaquin Phoenix as Napoleon and Vanessa Kirby as his wife, Empress Josephine, I still don't feel that I know who he was. And I believe that that's the point of the film, which ends with an ominous body count of 3 million dead during Napoleon's brutal quest for power. Now, the film doesn't show too much brutality, and I believe that's the point of the film as well, because between battles, Napoleon would retreat to Paris with his army. They would enjoy the fruits of victory: high society, French wine, beautiful women, French food. As Napoleon himself says in the film, "Destiny has brought me this lamb chop." He's justifying his weight gain there as he sits at a bountiful table, purchased with the lives of expendable soldiers. What we see during the battle scenes is Napoleon in his field tent, sitting on a commode, putting on his elaborate uniform, looking down into the commode, getting treated by a doctor because his backside is chapped from horse riding, and not every soldier has a horse. So the film gives us, in those scenes, Napoleon's perspective on the wars. And it's no wonder he fought so many wars. He never experienced the grinding brutality of it. Not in the same way as his soldiers, and certainly not the quick death of an infantryman getting his head blown off. This film has a very placid tone. We are shown chronologically the major battles of Napoleon's career, cut in between with scenes of ornate architectural beauty in which Napoleon glides through the halls of French palaces, signs treaties and documents declaring himself first consul, then he's crowned as emperor. Now, during his coronation, the historical Napoleon famously put the crown on his own head, and in the film as well, he declares, "I found the crown of France in the gutter. I picked it up with the point of a sword, and now I put it on my head." And what he's talking about there is the French Revolution, which overthrew the monarchy, put the nobles to the guillotine, including the French Queen Marie Antoinette. The film opens with her execution. The film also dramatizes his relationship with Josephine. He weeps when he learns she's been unfaithful to him. He weeps a lot in the film. He says Josephine is being beastly to him. Then he weeps. And this is the film showing us Napoleon never shed a tear for the 3 million who died to satisfy his ambitions, but he's always mooning over Josephine. He swiftly divorces her when she becomes infertile and can't provide him with an heir. But during their divorce ceremony, when he signs the papers, he weeps. Again, talk about self-absorbed. I didn't watch the theatrical release of the film, but apparently this director's cut adds many more scenes showing how Josephine survived the violence of the French Revolution. She was imprisoned by the anti-royalist mob, and rather than waiting her turn for the guillotine, she finds a French soldier and becomes his mistress. She's advised to do so by her friend, who's also in prison because pregnant women were allowed to give birth before being guillotined. Now, Josephine is a survivor, and after she marries Napoleon, she tells him, "Your ambition was always your greatest fault." And she's the woman of whom Napoleon says, "You gave me the only moments of happiness in my life." But he abandons her. Later, the tides of history begin to turn against Napoleon when he loses 460,000 soldiers during the invasion of Russia. After that, he's exiled to the island of Elba and given sovereignty there, but then he reads a newspaper article about Tsar Alexander of Russia spending time with Empress Josephine in France. He can't take it. His mother even encourages him to give it another try, so he leaves exile, becomes emperor again, and it's easy for him, according to the film, because whoever controls the army controls France, and the soldiers love Napoleon. They live for the glory of France, apparently. They know that their lives are short, and they're already prepared for death. But he suffers his final defeat at Waterloo and is exiled again. In his final exile, Josephine's voice is speaking in Napoleon's head. He hears her beckoning to him from the afterlife, saying, "Let's try this again." After he dies, the film shows us the body count, 3 million dead. So although Napoleon believes he's going to be reunited with Josephine in the afterlife, the film might take a different view about what happened to Napoleon when he finally kicked the bucket. Joaquin Phoenix gives a career-defining performance here, quite different from his role as Emperor Commodus in Gladiator. Now, the emotions are all under the surface here, simmering rather than boiling over. Now, without an actor of this skill, the film might have been very different, a lot messier. I like the placid tone they've taken, where Napoleon refuses to acknowledge the extent of the damage he's done. And even at the end of his life, when the voice playing in his head is still Josephine's, and he's so convinced they'll be reunited. Now, Vanessa Kirby is dynamite as Josephine. I believe she's a British actress, and she brings that stiff upper lip quality to those scenes when Josephine is forced to make a choice between virtue and survival during the French Revolution and in the aftermath. Napoleon, the director's cut, is magnificent. It kept my attention through 3.5 hours, and my attention never flagged. Although the film doesn't contain exciting scenes per se, the opening of the film with Marie Antoinette losing her head in the first 5 minutes is the only obvious attention grabber. After that, it's just Ridley Scott's cinematic genius that carries us through, because the storytelling isn't that dramatic, it's chronological rather than dramatic, but Ridley Scott's mastery of composition tells us so much without saying much at all. Now, this type of storytelling doesn't flaunt the technique. It shows us why Ridley Scott is rightly regarded as one of the masters of cinema. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe.